to get a pulse of who's representing your own company. Can you raise the hands? Okay, who's doing work for other organizations that are, okay, perfect. And any of you are investors or C-suite representatives? Okay, so you basically are supporting larger organizations. Great. How many of you showed up because there's chaos in your life, in your organization's life? Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. As the topic alludes, B2B marketing strategy dies in chaos. AI just helps to die faster. So I'm going to try to drive the point home with this message. And when we look at the organizations and different stages of the organizations, there's startups, there's growth, and then there's mature organizations. So I will try to frame the story around the growth stage, because coming from startup where everything is all chaotic anyway, you are trying to become that corporation that everybody aspires to become. So you have to fix the chaos in that growth stage for the most part. But the concepts that I will be sharing today can be applicable to any size organization, department level, or even project level. So it's more around the concept versus the stage of the organization that you have to think about. So what happens when the company grows? When the company grows, a lot of silos start forming. There's teams, there's people being hired, there's departments being formed, there's processes that were okay when the company was a startup stage that started becoming broken. And then the whole structure becomes misaligned because people stop talking to each other. Executives are continuing to drive, the business. They don't care what's happening on the bottom of the chain. They're just out there trying to sell, trying to generate the awareness. And that brings a lot of chaos in the teams when they start operating without the clear direction. And that misalignment is actually very expensive. And over time, if it doesn't get fixed, it compounds. And that's when the companies fail, right? We hear the stories when the companies are on the trajectory of growth and boom, they tank. Why? Because the structure is not capable to support that growth. It's the foundation that starts being broken. So now, obviously, the elephant in the room, which is AI. Add to the whole mix in the past 2 years, AI layer. So people are thinking, let's just get those people out of the mix. This is the pain in the butt. We don't need to think about people. We don't need to fix any processes. Let's just put AI and it's going to solve all of our problems. That's kind of how a lot of leaders think that AI is the solution. They don't think that a lot of structure inside the organization is broken that needs to be fixed for AI to actually work. So if you put AI on a chaotic structure, what it's going to do? It's going to accelerate the chaotic structure, right? It's going to crash before it does anything for you. And that's kind of the situation that we're going on today. So my promise in today's speech is that I will teach you how to spot misalignments or help your organizations that you work with spot misalignments, and how to actually thoughtfully advise them to introduce AI, and a 7 day challenge in going through this worksheet and being able to guide your clients to identify the problems and also fix those problems. So I'm going to share the framework with you today. Let me tell you a little bit of a story about what where that framework comes to begin with. My background is a news anchor. Back in Lithuania, I was a primetime news anchor. And when you operate in a news environment, you have no other choice but to really work in sync with everybody. News reporters, news directors, news producers, other news anchors, be it sports, weather. So you have to operate as one unit. And every millisecond matters when it comes to the story. So if you don't show up with the story in that night, in that evening, the story will die. And then the viewer is going to just move on to another channel because you didn't come with that story first. So in order for you to think within the organizational structure about it, the organizations usually use that site of urgency as they start growing. They think, oh, the customers are just going to come. But they don't value or see the customers as the driver of the mechanism. You also have to show up for them with the right message, with the right story, with the right visual brand identity so that you could get that follow-up and that loyalty as a brand. So As in the news department, you have no choice but to show up, right? Because if I don't come on air with the reports of the day, nobody's going to tune in. So when it comes to organizations, the competition will see what's broken. They will see the mess that you're operating within, because your reputation is going to start being cracky, your visuals are going to start looking misaligned, and your story is going to become broken. So nobody wants to look internally how to fix internal. Everybody's thinking about, I just want to be over there. I just want to be over there. So teams just do whatever it takes to be over there. And that's what starts happening, right? The decisions bottlenecks inside the organization, the mixed messages, the leadership team not visible and not there for the employees to actually explain to them where the organization is going, what changes are being expected when the company is going through that fast scaled up growth stage. So all of this mess eventually becomes visible externally. And that's what I was stating before. It affects the revenue in the end, because customers, competition will see the mess you're functioning in. And unfortunately, the statistics shows that a lot of silos inside the organization are killing that collaboration. People sometimes think that they're operating in a very streamlined and organized manner, but the statistics shows that a lot of silos still exist in any side organization. So the leadership team has to prioritize the communication, the cross-functional communication, top-down, bottoms-up type of communication. I've worked with a lot of companies in my career that were Fortune 500 startups, or even community projects that I was involved in, and a lot of these same patterns existed across the board. There's no urgency sometimes for them to fix those problems. They're just thinking about the shiny thing that everybody else is doing, and they want that shiny thing. So today what I will talk about, I will introduce my 3Ps framework, which is people, process, and presence. So people and process is where my chief of staff mind kicks in, and presence is where my CMO mind kicks in. So everything for me is visibility when I work with organizations, but I look at the foundational stuff first. I can't tell you will achieve these goals if your foundation is broken inside the organization. So I will use these 3Ps as an example, and I will share a Phison case story. And in full disclosure, I'm a head of corporate marketing at Phison, which is a technology company. It's a data storage manufacturer. It's been in the industry for over 20 years now, 25 to be precise. And I've been working with them for the past 5 years. So I will use them as a case study to showcase how these 3Ps came to life within their technology company. So in 2020, when I received a call, and the president of the United States office called me and said, "Hey, Loretta, we want to be more visible in the United States." The company is a Taiwanese company, headquartered in Taiwan, but they were trying to get traction in the United States to connect with their audiences here. He called me and he says, "Loretta, can you help us out? We need some more visibility, more influence, more trust with the US customers." This is what I heard. And when I started investigating and going through my initial phases of, people, who are the people that's inside the organizations, how do they operate with each other, I noticed that there's this massive gap that existed. They wanted the shiny thing first, but they didn't quite understand what was going on internally for them to get that shiny thing that they wanted. So I spoken with a lot of stakeholders. I went through a series of interviews to understand how the company operates. And what I uncovered was that they didn't have marketing and communications department to begin with. It did not exist. There was nobody actually driving what they wanted to achieve inside the organization. It's a very engineering mindset organization, and they didn't quite know what they needed to begin with to have that visibility achieved that they wanted. I will use a house as a metaphor to explain how these 3Ps come to play. So people is the foundation. Anything we do, it starts with people, right? Even if it's a founder or if it's two founders, it always starts with people. So that's what I looked at when I started doing work with Phison. I looked at who is the team, is the marketing team to begin with, who are the stakeholders that are interacting and driving current decisions, is the product marketing, is the corporate marketing, is the graphics designers, who are these people? And I found out that a lot of people are actually doing double roles. Salesperson was doing a lot of marketing, graphics designer was doing copywriting, and I said, well, this is dysfunctional. This cannot go on like that. And that was my sort of initial assessment. Okay, first we need the foundation. I needed the team to even start building things that they needed to get built. And where I started was I started hiring external partners first. So I said, I need a PR agency, I need web operations agency, I need copywriters, content writers, I need social media management. I needed a core team just to even get them to where they wanted to be in the very beginning. And there was a lot of hesitancy because, again, it's a very engineering company, so they're like, Loretta came here, she's asking for budget, we're already paying her, what's she gonna do? So I said, well, first of all, you don't know what you're doing, so I will help you figure it out. So I established this mini corporate marketing department for them, and we started gaining some traction. Now, once I looked at the people, I said, okay, where are the processes broken, right? And even though I can't fix the whole organization, I picked one process that immediately garners a lot of impact from visibility perspective, which is product announcements and press releases, right? So if you fix a little bit of the launch project, product launch, process, you can get a lot of visibility through that right away. And that's what I looked at. I took a PR as an activity, and I said, okay, why do we keep receiving these press releases from headquarters over here to the United States every 2 weeks? What's going on? Where's the central calendar of all the product announcements? Who's owning that calendar? Does it even exist? And it didn't. So I had to establish all of that foundational stuff for them to even think that there has to be a process. There has to be people talking to each other globally. And the press releases don't just sit on the website. They have to be distributed through a distribution platform to actually get media attention. We have to talk to media, to journalists, to start building relationships with them and bringing awareness to them. They had a little bit of media attention through reviewer sites, but my goal for the company, again, keeping in mind we want visibility and trust with the high-tier customers, my goal for the company was to appear in Forbes, in Fast Company, in higher-tier trade publications so that they can start getting connection, mental connection to the organization here in the United States. So we fixed that one process when it came to press releases. And within the first year, we started getting traction. So the CEO and the president of the United States office, he was like, hey, Loretta, I keep hearing from customers. They're telling Phison is everywhere. What are we doing? I said, well, we're fixing your mess. So the process with people, the right people in place, just skyrockets everything right away. So once we do the process, then we go into the presence, right? So presence through media was one aspect that we fixed. But we also, I looked at, what are the leadership teams doing right now that may affect the presence? Did they have a blog content platform, which they didn't? So I said, we have to have blog content that relates to the messaging and the story here in the United States. We have to have thought leadership presence. We have to have consistent publishing on LinkedIn, on the key platforms, so that we amplify that presence through all the channels. Obviously, to all of you, this is probably basic, but that sometimes when you talk to clients, they don't think this way. So it's for us to educate what they have to think about it. And majority of my work is really education. I sometimes have so many meetings explaining the why versus doing the actual doing. Because especially in technology companies and in B2B, B2C is easier, right? Because it's immediate impact through consumers, through all of that. But B2B, they tend to be more conservative, I guess, in how they operate. And they sometimes don't have that basic knowledge that is very basic to us. So through consistent publishing, through consistent, appearances in different channels, through mini campaigns, as PRs as campaigns versus ad hoc activities, we were just skyrocketing everything right away. Now, 2 years ago, well, a year ago, I guess, by now, we started introducing AI as a layer. And when it comes to visibility and authority, once you have that basic in place, you can start picking and choosing what you want to fix when it comes to AI. So a lot of organizations these days think that let's just add AI. We don't care where. If one group sells an idea of AI tool, they start implementing, they start going that route, and unfortunately it breaks, right? So how many of you have implemented the AI tools or efficiencies and didn't see the results? No? Okay, yeah. So that's what happens. And again, the statistic shows 95% of AI implementations still fail because the foundation is cracked. There's not enough of basis not enough workflows being figured out. They're broken because when the company is founded, nobody thought, oh, AI in 25 years is going to be relevant. We should start building all the processes right now because we will need it for AI in 25 years. Nobody knew about AI 25 years ago. So a lot of what's broken right now is historical. So we have to do a lot of cleanup and systemize things, build out the structure, and then say, okay, how can we use AI to accelerate what we already fixed? And that's pretty much what we have to think about. And a lot of companies don't. They just pick a tool, they implement it, and then when it fails, they think, oh, the wrong tool or wrong people, right? So I'm going back to the same structure first, and then you accelerate with AI. So this is another representation of AI as a layer versus as an add-on somewhere in between. Now, what we did with Phison when it came to AI, in 2024, I went through exactly the same process about how do we implement AI in the Phison ecosystem to accelerate. So again, I didn't pick the whole organization problems to fix. I said, what can we control? And by then, last year, we already had a lot of blog content, rich blog content that we could use to actually implement the AI generated answers that we all know about right now, right? So you have to have those enough content to implement it, and actually the right team to actually drive that activity. That's another thing that a lot of companies miss is they just plump on the AI tool without upskilling the teams to actually use that tool. And that's a huge miss because when you fail at something, then you are discouraged to continue doing it, right? So I looked again on a smaller scale, project scale perspective. What is the team on my team right now that can run this activity? Are they technically capable to do that? Do they have enough knowledge and expertise to do it? And if they do, what is the process? How we're going to go about it? What's the time frame that we're going to give this pilot program? And what is the presence? What is the result that we're trying to achieve with this, right? So we ran the program for about 3 months, and we immediately saw the results, right? So that's where, when we were thoughtfully introducing within one layer, we can now scale into other areas. So the next step for us is, how do we automate a little bit of the sales process with all this rich content that exists right now? How can we populate and make the sales fast on the enterprise side? What the sales funnel looks like. And I've encouraged the sales teams to actually document it and say, show us what your funnel looks like. Show us how you talk to customers so that when we pick the tool, we know what it's supposed to do. And we know where the information resides. We know where it's pulling from. So that's the mindset. Now, 7-day action plan, you can take it or leave it. But this is pretty much what I talked about. It's a framework, right? When I work with organizations, I go really deep into this assessment. This is very high level for you, almost as a checklist. And by the way, you'll be able to download in the QR code later on. But that's the process, right? You have to first audit the foundation. And in your roles when working with organizations, that's the first step you can do. What does it make? What does the makeup of the organization? What are the interactive and sort of collaborative departments that are affecting certain decision making? How is the information flowing from one area to another? Are there the right people, resources inside that organization? So you go through these steps, identifying where are people misalignments, where a process is inefficient, where are they broken. There could be a lot of tech stack in the organization, that people might be using, but they just may not be using it effectively. And maybe you just need to advise to dump some of those tools and use just one, right? But efficiently and effectively. So once you go through this process, you have to remember that communication is the connector. So communication in a house concept is a rebar, right? If you're not communicating with each other, if cross departments or top down, bottoms up, nothing will get done and things will continue being broken. So I see a lot of nods, and so I'm assuming that you guys are dealing with all of that every day when you serve your clients, right? And you can send this to them and say, hey, do this assessment, for us. Let's see what's going on in your organization, right? So by the raise of hands, who feels a little bit more within the frame of mind that this is what we should be doing when we're working with B2B, right? Okay. And I wanted to share the QR code where you can download a snippet of this presentation, a summary of this presentation, along with a couple of offers. And you can bring those offers to your clients, because I understand this is not the type of audience where these offers were created. And these offers are specifically AI audit, AI presence audit, I should say, and also the fundamental, that deep dive audit, that the 3Ps deep dive, that's where I come in and help out further. But the simple form of that assessment is available to download there as well. And you can, again, print it out, send it to your clients in the digital form, and just have them go through this exercise, because if they go through it, it's going to help you also deliver the results better as well. So that's it.